Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Craig. I am Craig DeLuce, your host, and I am very happy to have you here. Please remember to like and share this video feed as well as our podcast feed so that your friends can join in the conversation. Also, remember, if you're following us on Facebook and you want to get these alerts right away, like as soon as they come up, make sure you click the notifications. It's a little bell. Make sure you click on that so that you get the notifications. Also, please remember to go to fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. Every penny that you spend there, every T-shirt that you buy, know that the proceeds go right back into the fight for our constitutional right to keep and bear arms, so you can fight for the Second Amendment and look good doing it. That's fpcgear.com. Finally, please remember to check out our sponsors, Sacramento Black Rifle, Sparks Black Rifle, two of the best firearms retailers in the entire West Coast. They are not just interested in making sure you have the ability to purchase a firearm, but they want to make sure that you have the constitutional right to be able to own it and use it. So remember, that's you can follow them on Instagram, find them on Facebook, Sparks Black Rifle, Sacramento Black Rifle. Okay, getting into today's topic. You guys might remember we're kind of a fake news theme kind of this week. And I wanted to kind of reveal some of this information that's being put out there by the various different educational outlets, governmental outlets, or in this case, news outlets, pointing to statistics relating to firearms. Everyone wants us to believe that the United States, let's put it this way, they want us to believe that guns are the center of all evil, and that it has nothing to do with the individuals who actually have the guns. It has nothing to do with criminals. It has nothing to do with crime. It has nothing to do with drugs. It has nothing to do with gangs. It has nothing to do with mental illness. But it's all about the guns. But the problem is that the statistics, the information, the data that is made available just does not bear that out. And we found that to be the case in a recent study that was put together in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And basically what this pointed out was that while everyone would have us believe that the United States is at the top of the list when it comes to gun violence, when it comes to homicides relating to firearms, they would have us believe that the United States is at the top of the list, that we are number one. But turns out we actually are not. If you look at the actual data, you will find that we are not number one, which is Venezuela, where 87.5% of homicides are involve a firearm. We're not even number two, which is Puerto Rico, 87.4. Heck, we're not even number 5, which is El Salvador. We are all the way down at number 10. That's right, number 10. And the United States, where 68% of homicides involve a firearm. So you ask me now, Craig, why does that matter? Well, here's why it matters. It matters because, once again, people are still continually trying to point to the idea that firearms are in fact a problem, and that the United States is the leader when it comes to that. You notice they always kind of throw out statistics where they say, oh well, this country and that country, and they always point to quote unquote industrialized countries. Let's look at this list one more time. Now, what they will try and tell you is that all of these countries that are listed here, none of them are quote unquote industrialized. And my question for that, quite frankly, is why does it matter why does it matter if it's quote unquote industrialized? And I'll tell you why. Because they needed to find a way in which to weed out countries that didn't fall in line with their particular perspective, right? One of the other things that was pointed out in this study was that 30%. I might have if I was using the wrong thing here. Here we go. One of the things that was also noted, and this was actually noted by CNN, was that we'd rank 30th in the world in terms of total number of homicides. That's 30th in the world. Now, mind you, we're not the largest country in the world, but we are also one of the, we are one of the largest. We are one of the largest countries in the world. But yet, and still, we rank 30th when it comes to homicides. Now, both of these statistics, both of these facts kind of work contrary to what it is that the left would have us believe, or the anti-gun community would have us believe about America when it comes to firearms. Instead, they have their own narrative that they would like to push. And that narrative is one that says that America, the United States of America, is a very, very bad place. It is a place where it is riddled with guns and gun violence, and people are killing themselves all the time, everywhere. But the funniest part about it is, what they don't point out is, number one, 2/3 of all gun deaths are suicides. So we already know this, which provides an interesting stat here, because here, one of the things that they point out as CNN in their piece is they note that in their story, they highlight that 251,000 people died by a gun in 2016. 251,000. Now, they would have you believe that the United States is the largest group amongst that. But think about this. Of the 32 or 33,000 people that died last year from firearms, only 11,000 were from quote unquote gun violence. 2/3 suicides. That's why that number is important. So if 2/3 are suicides and only 11,000, well then 11,000 out of 251,000. 11,000 out of 251,000. Are you starting to get the point that I'm making here? Are you starting to get there? Yes, that's right. Less than 4%. Less than 4% of all of these deaths that are included that occur are gun violence deaths that occur here in America. But they don't want to tell you that. They will not give you that information. But what they will do is they'll point out how bad America is by misleading information. And what they'll do is they'll lump us in with countries that have much higher death rates. For example, they'll lump us in with Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, Guatemala, in order to get to over half the gun-related deaths worldwide. But the interesting thing here is, let's just take Brazil, for example. Brazil had 60,000 murders with firearms last year. 60,000. They are number one. My question is, why is the United States at the front of this list? When you consider the number of murders, we're not even a fifth. We're barely, well, no, by the way, we're basically, no, we're 1/6. We're not even a fifth. I was right. My math is right. We're not even a sixth. We are 1/6 of what Brazil is, and yet they lump us in. And once again, these are countries that are riddled with crime and riddled with drugs and riddled with a whole bunch of other issues that they won't talk about, that they won't make it a point to talk. They won't make it a point to talk about. But no, let me take it back. Actually, they do. See, when it comes to the other countries, let's take a look at this one real quick. When it comes to the other countries, they make it a point to point out that many of the homicides involve drug cartels, the author suggests, and there's a problem with organized crime and illegal gun trade. But for some reason, they refuse to acknowledge those facts when it comes to the United States. The fact that over 80% of all gun violence in the United States is either drug or gang related. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that. Maybe the problem is the gangs or the drugs, and maybe not, in fact, the firearms. Once again, I find it interesting that they completely and utterly, and folks, I guess the reason, and I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, Craig, it's CNN. Isn't that what they're going to do? It's the American Journal of Medicine. Isn't that what they're going to do? Yes, that is exactly what they're going to do. But see, here's the thing. I honestly don't believe that most people, there are a lot of people out there who are looking for real information. And in the absence of truth, they will believe what the mainstream media puts in front of them. So the reason why we need to pay attention to these numbers is so that we can put the real truth out there. That's why I give AWR Hawkins and the folks over there at Breitbart total credit on this information, on putting this information out there. Because they're helping to get the real information out. They're helping people to see the other side of the data that's not being portrayed by the mainstream media. But here's the thing, folks. If they're not doing it, or we're not doing it here at FPC, that doesn't abdicate your responsibility to make sure that you know the truth. And what I'm saying is that because there's some stuff out there, like there was another study that I talked with you guys about before, where it was something that look, Breitbart didn't pick it up. We didn't pick it up, and I was reporting it to you after someone who writes over at AmmoLand took a look at the data and picked it up and came up with some good information. I'm just sharing that with you to say that we all have a responsibility to critically look at the information and the data and the news that's being put out there. And when we see them, when we see where things are being manipulated, when we see where they are being basically just out and outright telling lies, it's important for us to not just point out, hey, they're lying here. It's not just important for us to call BS, but it's important for us to show the flaw in the information and the data that they're putting out there. And so hats off to AWR Hawkins and the folks over at Breitbart. Hats off to the folks over at MLN. Everybody who's taking a part in helping to expose fake gun news, I tip my hat to you. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you guys liking and sharing these videos and podcasts and telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.